For centuries, China has raised dogs, cats, and other animals for food and for use in traditional medicines. But as the country grows in affluence, social attitudes are also changing. Pet ownership, once condemned as bourgeois, is now flourishing. And with no animal welfare laws, growing numbers of Chinese are protesting the abuse of animals. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim. On this edition of 101 East, we look at the growing fight for animal rights in China. And just a warning to viewers that this episode does contain graphic images that may be disturbing.
Most are abandoned, some deformed, others frightened of human contact. But all have no greater protector than Du Yufeng. These dogs have been spared a fate common to many stray animals in rural China: extermination or ending up on the menu. Du has rescued hundreds of dogs and cats in her home province of Sichuan. It is a calling she embraced in the wake of the disastrous 2008 earthquake, which killed tens of thousands of people.
After the earthquake, I found there were many dogs who lost their families. I felt very sorry for them. There were some really loyal dogs. They were staying at the buildings where their masters were buried, without eating or drinking anything, and they wouldn't leave. It drew our sympathy, so we started to help them.
Du closed her lucrative private kindergarten and opened the doors of an apartment building she owned to create a sanctuary for small animals. She spends more than $60,000 a year, mostly her own money, to care for cats and dogs.
Animal rescue work is really difficult to do in China. There are far too many difficulties. You have to offer them food and treat them if they are ill. Also, you have to deal with people's scorn. We are called lunatics or mad people and criticized for spending money on feeding dogs when some people don't have enough food to eat.
Du has become a leading voice of animal rights, a friend to small animals, and a formidable foe to those who would hurt them. But she wants to do more than give them homes. She is fighting to change Chinese attitudes toward animals.
The most important way to save dogs is through publicity. For each person who learns the importance of cherishing life, there is one more person who won't mistreat dogs. So step by step, we're teaching people about saving and protecting animals and doing no harm to them.
Just a few decades ago, owning a dog in China was considered capitalist. Today, pet ownership is exploding, and cities like Beijing and Shanghai have imposed one-dog policies to keep the pet populations in check. This has fed a growing animal rights movement, determined to stop practices they believe are giving China a poor reputation with animal welfare.
Among the activities they are targeting, the popularity of exotic dishes such as shark fin soup, and the extraction of bile from living bears for use in traditional Chinese medicine. The feeding of live cows and chickens to tigers at safari parks, and the killing of dogs and cats for food or fur. This pro-animal rights video shows animals enduring horrific conditions before they are killed and skinned. While China has laws for protecting wildlife and endangered animals, there is no national law addressing animal torture or cruelty.
The world looks at China, and this is what I think the Chinese need to reflect on. The world thinks that China has no concept of animal protection, that will eat all kinds of animals, and we are an atrocious nation. They believe no matter how terrible animals are treated, the Chinese will accept it. I think this is a misunderstanding of our nation.
Last April, a confrontation outside Beijing brought the long-simmering debate of animal rights to the national stage. Animal protection activists stopped a truck carrying some 500 dogs destined for restaurants in northeastern China. Mobilized by microblogs, waves of animal lovers arrived from the capital, some bringing water and food for the dogs. Activists argued that the shipment violated Chinese transportation laws, since the animals showed signs of abuse and disease. But police said the driver's paperwork was in order.
The dogs were kind of being kidnapped. As you could see, there were sick dogs being stolen, and some female dogs had just given birth. Some small dogs had already died in the truck, some had obvious tumors, some had skin diseases.
The standoff dragged on overnight until activists agreed to pay $17,000 to save the dogs. Animal rights groups hailed it as a victory.
It's a very good thing. It shows that people are gradually growing more aware.
But many Chinese condemned the activists, accusing them of recklessly stopping a truck that was operating within the law. And some animal rescue groups fear paying for the dogs has set a dangerous precedent that will make it harder for them in the future.
We know people want to rescue those dogs, but the result may be different from what we expected. We paid a great cost to rescue those lives. The dog traders won't feel guilty or uneasy because we bought those dogs. They think they can keep doing it because the government didn't say it's illegal. That's the negative impact.
Challenging long-held traditions is one of the biggest difficulties facing Chinese animal activists. Dog meat has been served in parts of China for centuries. Aficionados call it fragrant meat or earth lamb. While the majority of Chinese do not eat dog, the meat has an enthusiastic following among some groups and is especially popular in the winter, as it is believed to help keep the body warm. It's estimated that as many as 10 million dogs are killed each year for their meat. The Fan Kuai Dog Meat Company in Jiangsu province is one of China's largest producers of dog meat products, offering snacks ranging from packaged dog legs to the colorfully named turtle juice dog meat. The company boasts a 2,000-year history, and its owner claims to be the descendant of a legendary dog meat butcher and general from the Han Dynasty. He believes eating dog meat is a cultural tradition that should be left alone.
Some people eat dog meat while some don't, but those who don't eat it can't ask those who do not to eat it, and vice versa. I think it's the same logic between Chinese having dog meat and foreigners having beef. You can have beef, why can't we have dog meat?
In the southern province of Guangdong, diners have earned a reputation for consuming exotic and wild animals, as well as using animal parts in traditional Chinese medicine. For Mrs. Li, who asked not to be identified by her full name, some animals provide unique remedies. Today, she is cooking soup with crocodile meat, which she says helps improve breathing. Li used to suffer from severe headaches. Doctors prescribed drugs, but she says they didn't help. In the end, she found relief from an unexpected source.
I used to have headaches every day. Then I heard from friends that someone's grandma had the same syndrome, the same headache. She said eating puppies would help, and they had to be local dogs, those less than 10 days old. You had to cook it with black beans. She said that she ate them 2 or 3 times and didn't have headaches anymore. So I decided to try it, and it worked.
Li says after eating puppies, her headaches disappeared. But for her, there's a difference between the dogs she consumes and those people keep as pets.
Dogs that you can eat are yellow dogs, but pet dogs are for fun and care. Of course, you don't eat those dogs, but many people don't eat dogs.
Some experts believe that many of these culinary traditions will slowly lose favor as ideas of animal welfare take root.
When people's awareness about food safety and animal protection grows, people will gradually realise that food on their table is always related with the suffering and death of other lives, whether they're tasty or not.
Du Yufeng is not willing to wait. She is waging a personal crusade to shut down dog meat restaurants in her native Sichuan. Today, she and other activists have come to the town of Pujiang, an hour's drive outside of Chengdu. They are targeting a dog meat supplier on the edge of town. Our hidden camera follows Du as she poses as a new restaurant owner, looking to find quality dog meat for her business. She asks the supplier to sign a contract, agreeing to provide freshly killed dog meat before her opening a few days away. Selling dog meat is not in itself illegal in China, but Du has learned to exploit a legal gray area. Chinese food safety laws require all meat products to be inspected and certified, but few dog meat shops have such documentation.
我们排的有，它怎么杀的，怎么的一个过程，我们都排的有，都排的啊，都排的有。就在他那个房子杀，他已经，他从事这个杀狗已经30年了，而且在他手上杀的狗1万多只。
Du takes her evidence to the local Industry and Commerce Administration and convinces agents to join her in paying a surprise visit to the supplier.
动物保护协会的，咱们濮阳县来的，那么超过几次了。要求呢就是个，我濮阳县呢这个犬只进动物进行保护，不能吃吐烂宰，不能个，不能私自宰杀，晓得不？
舌头。
我们就在宰这方面，
宰手
相关手续没有？
宰不那个。
你拿着卫生许可证或者动物检疫许可证有？
没得。
这个检疫许可证有？没得个。那我说，
看到你是多他一个人，你不要杀，看到起来就老实。我就看到多这一个，你关键是嘛，你为你自身。
Du manages to persuade the supplier to turn his dogs over to her.
再不要做这个，你一定要给我写个保证。你任性保证的，我想到你爱他的时候，肯定也爱。我看那个样子还是很爱他。脚是不是打到了？来，我抱。你抱。
他搞东西。
不会。不会我会这个不会咬。他懂得了，哪个在救他？一起抱那个，那3个一起抱。
Then, just as Du seems to have won the day, the winds change. The owners of several local dog meat restaurants arrive in a rage. Re-energized by the support from his customers, the dog meat supplier takes back his dogs. But the battle didn't end there. A few days later, Du visited the county party secretary and won his support to close the supplier's operation. She returned and recovered the dogs, taking them to a nearby animal shelter for care.
We have trained dogs for thousands of years to build this close relationship with human beings. We didn't do this for the purpose of eating their meat. We put so much effort into training them so they can work for us, keep us company. They rely on us.
The same passion Du has for saving dogs, activist Ma Wenwei throws into rescuing cats in his hometown of Suzhou in eastern China. This area is a popular source of cat meat that is sent south to Guangzhou, where in the peak of winter, as many as 10,000 cats are consumed every day. Ma says most of these cats are stolen pets or strays seized off the street.
There are no explicit regulations, and this industry has extravagant profits. It has no costs, as all the cats and dogs are stolen. It costs them nothing.
Ma spends many early mornings sneaking onto others' property, investigating suspected cat hoarding sites. If he finds evidence of cats being held, he coordinates a plan of action with his fellow activists.
Last time we intercepted a truck of cats in Wuxi. When we got the message, about a dozen of us went there and intercepted the truck at the exit of the highway. Then we forced the truck to go to the traffic police. We squared off with the cat sellers for 2 nights and 1 day. Finally, a leader of our association used his own money to buy the cats.
The efforts of people like Ma were the subject of a recent film, 3 Flowers, China's first documentary to focus on the illegal cat trade. The film aroused outrage among viewers in major cities, raising calls for stricter regulations to protect cats and other animals.
China has developed until today, and it should keep pace with the world on animal protection. Why can't China enact this kind of law when other countries can?
A draft of an animal welfare law has been proposed to China's legislature, which would ban the torture of animals as well as make it a crime to eat cats and dogs. But so far, the proposal has failed to win enough support to move forward.
In my opinion, the largest difficulty facing animal protection legislation in China lies in the lack of public awareness and in officials' awareness. The legislature has taken into account many aspects. They have to consider China's current economic situation, since many people still suffer from poverty. The welfare of animals should not take precedence over that of humans, who still face many problems.
The legislation about animal protection and anti-torture need not only be national legislation, but it could also be made at a local level. In many cities, there are already some regulations on dogs. So when these cities make or amend local laws, they can add some about anti-torture.
A project to build a model local animal welfare policy has begun in an unlikely place. A county where 2 years ago, nearly every single dog was beaten to death. In May 2009, a rabies outbreak sparked a panic in the city of Hanzhong in Shanxi province. City officials took extreme measures, declaring that all stray dogs should be exterminated. In one outlying county, Yangxian, gangs of men roamed the streets, clubbing to death any dog they came upon. In all, more than 30,000 dogs were killed. County leaders say they were only carrying out orders to cull homeless dogs. But locals say the gangs were indiscriminate, killing family pets even if they had been vaccinated against rabies.
At that time, no dogs could appear in the street. And if you walked a dog, then the dog killers would just kill it. Even if you held the dog with your arms, they would just take the dog from you and kill it. This was the situation.
They killed your dogs even if you felt sad and couldn't eat for several days. You could cry and refuse to eat, but they would kill them anyway. There was nothing you could do. If you fought against them, they'd take you away and mistreat you. It wasn't worth it.
Images of the mass killing spread virally across the internet, drawing widespread condemnation from Chinese netizens. In the wake of the massacre, Yang Xian has been working with China's Northwest University of Politics and Law to draft a dog management policy that incorporates concepts of respect for animals. The proposed policy requires strict rules on vaccinations and sterilization, but also prohibits animal abuse or abandoning pets.
Since the 2009 rabies incident, the county has sent out flyers on how to keep dogs and prevention measures against rabies. If an owner abandons a dog, or if the dog gets lost and the owner doesn't report it, the owner can't keep the dogs for 5 years, according to the draft.
Pampered pets in the cities generally have less to fear than their counterparts in the countryside. Though for some, enduring their owner's whims is another matter. Rising affluence has given many middle and upper-class Chinese the opportunity to shower affection on their four-legged friends, with pet spas, gourmet food, and expensive toys. For little Nemo, this means a colorful makeover. Owner Wang Xiaoli believes her dogs deserve to look as stylish as people.
Nowadays, people want fashion, and I think dogs need it too. There is the technology for it. So I think if my dogs can get some hairdressing, they'll be very beautiful when I go out and walk them.
But for some city dwellers, dog license fees are a heavy burden. In Beijing, it costs $150 to register a pet for the first time, and $80 every following year. Worried they will be fined, some owners have chosen to abandon their pets rather than pay the fees. Yang Xiaoyun believes if city governments reduced animal license fees, fewer families would abandon their pets, and fewer animals would need to be rescued. Yang has devoted her life to a seemingly endless task, rescuing every stray or abandoned animal she encounters. With no full-time staff or volunteers, Yang alone cares for some 1,500 dogs and 200 cats on a farm outside the city of Tianjin.
My idea was very simple in the beginning. Stray dogs don't have food or water. People might even abuse them to death. I thought they are miserable. No one looks after them. So when I saw them, I took them home, so at least they can survive. This was my only thought.
Few animals here are a picture of health. Almost all show signs of abuse, disease, or starvation, and conditions on the farm are far from ideal. But for Yang, they at least have someone to care for them.
I believe in Buddhism. All lives are equal. If they die from sickness, they will be able to go on to the next life. If you put them to sleep, they can't go on to the next life. A natural death can lead to reincarnation. A death by hatred cannot.
Now she is taking her campaign of animal compassion to the gates of the local police dog pound, hoping to spare the dogs inside from terrible conditions. Photos from her previous visits show dog carcasses littering the ground, with survivors left to starve in the stench. She says some dogs are beaten by guards or buried alive.
I struggled with the police bureau for almost 3 months. Finally, I can go into the police compound to feed the dogs. They would starve if we didn't go there. This is my first victory. I will do it no matter how hard it is, no matter how exhausting it is. Even if I don't have any money, I can still afford some steamed buns for the dogs.
Yang's mission has taken a toll. She's been forced to sell her property, go into debt, and has moved 10 times. It has split her family apart, and she is viewed as an outcast by her neighbors.
I don't have a home now. Where the dogs go, my home is.
A weary but determined face of animal rights in China, trying to save one life at a time.